The year is 2025. The world has changed in ways few could have predicted. Technology has advanced, societies have evolved, but some age-old issues remain unresolved. A shadow hangs over America. The political climate is tense, and the air is thick with uncertainty. The nation is divided, and the storm clouds gather ominously on the horizon. The threat of mass deportations looms large. For many, the American dream is turning into a nightmare. The fear is palpable, and the anxiety is widespread. Millions of undocumented immigrants brace for the unknown. They live in the shadows, constantly looking over their shoulders, unsure of what tomorrow will bring. Their future is uncertain, and their present is fraught with tension. Their lives hang in the balance. A political storm rages, and the stakes are incredibly high. Families are torn apart by the fear of separation, and communities are on edge. The nation stands on a precipice. The decisions made in the coming days will shape the future of millions. It is a time of great uncertainty and even greater consequence. The federal government, driven by a hardline stance, prepares to act. Executive orders are drafted and enforcement agencies are mobilized. The machinery of the state is set in motion, and the message is clear. Mass deportations are coming. The government is resolute, and the plans are in place. The announcement sends shockwaves through communities across the nation. Fear and uncertainty grip immigrant communities. Families fear separation, and the sense of dread is overwhelming. Community meetings are filled with worried faces, and the atmosphere is one of despair. Businesses worry about their workforce. The potential loss of employees is a significant concern, and the economic implications are profound. The ripple effects of the policy are felt far and wide. The social fabric of America is strained. The debate is fierce, and the divisions are deep. Communities are torn apart, and the discourse is heated. The nation is at a crossroads. Supporters demand action, citing national security and economic concerns. They argue that the policy is necessary for the safety and prosperity of the nation. Their voices are loud, and their resolve is strong. Opponents decry the plan as inhumane and counterproductive. They argue that it violates human rights and undermines the values that America stands for. Their speeches are emotional, and their passion is undeniable. They argue for compassion and understanding. Community leaders and volunteers work tirelessly to support those affected, offering help and hope in a time of crisis. The stage is set for a showdown, the lines are drawn, and the battle for the soul of the nation is about to begin. The outcome is uncertain, but the stakes could not be higher. The consequences will be profound. The decisions made now will echo through history, shaping the future of the nation and the lives of millions. The storm is gathering, and the world watches with bated breath. The federal government's plan ignites a firestorm of opposition. Across the country, people take to the streets, their voices rising in unison against policies they see as unjust and inhumane. States across the nation rise in defiance. From the East Coast to the West, the message is clear. Communities will not stand idly by as their neighbors are targeted. Sanctuary cities reaffirm their commitment to protecting undocumented immigrants. City councils pass resolutions and mayors make public declarations, standing firm in their resolve. Legal challenges are mounted, questioning the constitutionality of mass deportations. Lawyers and civil rights groups work tirelessly, filing lawsuits and seeking injunctions to halt the federal government's actions. Governors and mayors voice their dissent. In press conferences and community events, they speak out, highlighting the moral and legal issues at stake. They pledge to resist federal mandates. Official documents are signed and pledges are made, solidifying their commitment to protect their communities. Some threaten to withhold cooperation with immigration enforcement agencies. Local law enforcement officials and community leaders make it clear that they will not be complicit in actions they believe to be wrong. The battle lines are drawn, the nation is divided, protests and counter-protests erupt, and the country finds itself at a crossroads, with deeply held beliefs on both sides. The federal government denounces these acts of defiance. Officials in Washington, D.C. hold press conferences condemning the actions of states and cities that refuse to comply. They threaten legal action and funding cuts. The standoff intensifies. Politicians argue in Congress, and news reports highlight the growing tension and the potential consequences. The rule of law is tested. The issue makes its way through the courts, with the Supreme Court ultimately being called upon to make a decision that could have far-reaching implications. The future of federalism hangs in the balance. As the nation watches, the outcome of this conflict will shape the relationship between federal and state governments for years to come. In the shadows of this political battle, a silent struggle unfolds. Millions of undocumented immigrants live in fear, their lives shrouded in uncertainty and anxiety. They are mothers and fathers, students and workers. They are our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends. They contribute to our communities in countless ways, often unseen and unrecognized. They are an integral part of the American fabric, woven into the very essence of our society. Their stories are the stories of America, yet they live with the constant threat of discovery, a looming shadow that never fades. Every knock on the door could be immigration enforcement, a moment that could shatter their world. Every traffic stop could lead to deportation, a simple mistake that could cost them everything. Their lives are on hold, suspended in a state of perpetual waiting. Many live in hiding, afraid to leave their homes, their dreams confined within four walls. They are cut off from essential services, unable to access the help they need. Education and healthcare remain out of reach, basic rights denied. Their children grow up in the shadows, marked by fear and uncertainty, their innocence tainted by the harsh realities of their situation. These families live in a constant state of vigilance, their bonds strengthened by shared adversity. They hold on to hope, even in the darkest of times, dreaming of a day when they can step out of the shadows and into the light. The stage is set for confrontation. Immigration enforcement agencies prepare for mass raids. They face resistance from local communities and law enforcement. Tensions escalate. Protests erupt across the nation. Demonstrators block streets and surround detention centers. They demand justice and compassion for undocumented immigrants. Civil disobedience spreads. The National Guard is deployed in some areas to maintain order. Images of soldiers facing off against civilians flood the airwaves. The nation watches in disbelief. The economy holds its breath. The economy shudders. Industries reliant on immigrant labor face collapse. Farms lie fallow. Construction projects grind to a halt. Restaurants and hotels stand empty. The stock market plunges. Investors panic. The value of the dollar plummets. The economic engine of America sputters. The social safety net is stretched to its breaking point. Millions of newly unemployed Americans rely on government assistance. Food banks are overwhelmed. Homelessness soars. A nation divided. The nation is torn apart. Political polarization reaches a fever pitch. Families and communities are divided. Trust in government erodes. The media fans the flames of division. Talk shows become echo chambers of anger and fear. Social media is flooded with misinformation and hate speech. The American dream, once a beacon of hope for millions, transforms into a nightmare for many. The promise of equality and opportunity rings hollow. Echoes of history, the specter of America's past haunts the present. Memories of Japanese internment camps and the forced removal of Native Americans resurface. The lessons of history seem forgotten. Civil liberties are eroded in the name of national security. Due process is disregarded. The Constitution is tested. The very fabric of American democracy is threatened. The balance of power is destabilized. The rule of law is undermined. The world is watching. The world watches in horror and disbelief. America, once a beacon of freedom and democracy, is now a symbol of division and intolerance. Its reputation lies in tatters. Allies denounce America's actions. Trade partnerships crumble. The global community distances itself from a nation in turmoil. America's enemies seize on its vulnerability. They exploit the chaos and division. The international order is destabilized. A plea for humanity. In this darkest hour, voices of reason and compassion must prevail. We must remember our shared humanity. We must bridge the divides that separate us. We must reject the politics of fear and division. We must embrace the principles of empathy and understanding. We must choose unity over discord. The future of America hangs in the balance. The choices we make today will determine our destiny. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose humanity.